At least your eyes are the right size. You're not trying to carry around a sword that defies physics.
Well, welcome, Adam Holcombe. I don't know why you decided to be on our show, but we're glad to have you.
Well, we started?
Now you can't leave. Yes, we're past time. We already have 7 viewers waiting for us.
Wow, what's that?
I'm just very bad at saying no, so that's why I'm here.
I can say something, I won't. Oh, damn! I'm not quite old enough to have lost all of my filter, and I'm oh so close. Anyway, yes, great to have you with us. Thank you very much. You are calling from the northern state. I was going to say great state, but I decided just call it the northern state of Wisconsin.
Fair.
Too much snow there to be great.
I agree.
It snowed here today.
Same.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
not here.
It did. The ground's not cold enough for it to stick, but it actually snowed outside. It was kind of nice.
No. Below 50.
All right. So what can we talk about other than your book? Because I know you put out a tweet saying maybe we'll talk about our books. And I don't think we should get into that for at least another 15 minutes or so.
That's fair. You know, we got lots of other things we can talk about.
That
Like more snow.
Take off your headphones and just give us one of these for a sec. Yeah, is that natural?
Yes.
Yeah.
Born with it from day one.
Do women come up to you and ask if the drapes match the shades or whatever the hell it is?
I have not had that question.
No.
No.
Okay. Well, now you have. See, so you had something new already.
Oh. So, Adam, Gam was in last year in the Sphinx, right?
Do you want to say what Gam is, Mike, before you just dive right into that? Give that a little context.
If we have 7 people waiting for us to start, they're here because of Adam. They're not here because of us, so they know who Gam is. But let's go to the motion anyway. Adam, tell us about your first book. 2.5 minutes talking about your book. This is a record.
So A Necromancer Called Gam is a novella that follows an elderly woman who is a necromancer who runs into a young girl who is on the run from some bad people. And being the kind old lady she is, she offers to assist and help the young girl kind of figure everything or get out of trouble. So that's what that is, and Gam is the main character, or one of the main characters. The main POV is from the girl, but they're both main characters.
Okay, so for anyone who is on YouTube or Twitter and came across this entirely by accident, wondering what this could be, what's a necromancer?
That is someone who has magic abilities to raise the dead.
And why would this old lady want to be raising dead people?
That is in the first book.
I don't. Okay. I guess one would have to ask, how does one find out one has this ability?
So the way it's done in my series is that with a lot of people have innate magical abilities that they can train into one of 8 different sects of magic or branches. And some are kind of like gifted in one and automatically have it. The main character, Mina, is a young girl who has her powers to start with. They're untrained, but they're like powerful. Gam did not start with magic. She went to school in order to train into necromancy. So that was entirely by choice.
Were you just like at home one day watching, I don't know, Hunger Games or something like that, and said to yourself, you know what? Screw Harry Potter and the Hunger Games and all this other. I'm going to make an old adult fantasy instead of a young adult fantasy. I'm going to put an octogenarian pensioner in there as the main character and see what happens.
It actually started as a D&D character that I wanted to play because I wanted to be the crazy grandma of the party.
You sat down at the D&D table and said, "Yeah, I want this person to be like a 70-year-old woman."
I didn't get that far because I was the forever DM during this time, so I invented a bunch of characters but never played them. But I was definitely prepared to be a grandma that was just like insane. Gam Gam is not insane. She started out much more psychotic. But she started as a D&D character, and then I made a mention of her, and two of my friends, Crystal Matar and Connor Kaplan, kind of pushed me to make a book about her because she sounded excellent. So that's actually where it started.
Nice. D&D is such a great... See, Mike, you should play D&D.
I know I should. I tried once, but they were just guys who were 10 years older than me being passive-aggressive to each other, so I quit.
Well, yeah.
I'm like, okay, we walked around the city for an hour.
Yeah, I was originally going to have her D&D character, to the people who were raised as the dead were like her grandkids, and she was pretending they were still alive. That gives a bit of an idea.
When did you put out your first Gam Gam book?
That was May of last year.
May of last year?
Yeah. And
you have like 4 of them out?
No, I have 2 out. One just came out in October, and then I have 2 more planned. One is outlined, and the other one I just have the idea for.
All right. Okay. And you were in the your first one was in the
Sphinx.
It was. Yeah, I actually accidentally started that competition myself. I put out a tweet complaining about my book being too short for Swiftbow, and there should be one that's for novellas alone. And someone picked up the idea and ran with it. And then I feel like I should have just automatically won the first year, but
yeah, right.
The judges did not agree, so
they should have at least named it after you. I mean,
yeah.
No, before the show, Mike and I were doing our research, as we are wont to do for 2 minutes before every show. We do that much research.
You don't want to put too much work into it.
No, we put in an amount of work commensurate with what we get paid to do. So,
exactly.
I want to read this. This is one of your 211 ratings on Goodreads for a necromancer called Gam Gam. Bear with me. I read this as part of Speculative Fiction Indie Novella Championship, pronounced Sphinx, which is a yearly competition, blah, blah, blah. Whilst traveling in the wilds, an old woman comes across a young girl hiding from soldiers and dogs. Offering her sanctuary, the two form an unlikely friendship. Turns out that the old woman is a necromancer who can raise the dead and is also one hell of a knitter, whilst the girl has her own secrets that has made her the target of some local bad man or other. Now, this is a sweet, partly cozy little number, and I can see why everyone likes it. However, it wasn't for me. I can see why everyone likes it and why it has made such an impact, and it makes me feel like I'm kicking a puppy when I say that the book wasn't for me. I have a problem with that because maybe I shouldn't, right? Obviously, it's not a review of my book. Maybe I shouldn't because, it's an honest, but he gave you 2 stars, right?
Yeah.
With that review. Admitting that the book is fun, admitting that everybody else seems to like it, that it's gotten a lot of good press, and that he feels like he's kicking a puppy, but it's just not for him. Mike has heard this rant already once. I just feel that you could still be objective enough to say, while I didn't like it, I certainly appreciate the writing and the imagination that's gone into it and all that other stuff, and not give it a 2. And this was one of
That's
the
fair.
judges from this contest. If this was your contest, you would certainly fire that judge, right?
I mean, that was actually a first round review, and I made it past that round, so
Oh, okay. Oh, that's fine.
I forgive him, so it's okay.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Mike. I'm done.
Okay, soapbox has been put away for now. So I have random questions, silly questions I'd like to ask authors. And it seems completely out of context for you, so let's go with it. Preferred method for slaying dragons.
What the hell?
We're taking a hard left turn here.
Wow.
Personally, I would like to do it from a very far distance, if it was me. But if it's in a story, I find, from inside out to be a fun one.
Okay.
From the inside out?
Yeah.
So are you a person who then gets behind the Marvel theory of Ant-Man should have made himself small and went up Thanos' butt and then made himself big?
I liked that as a plan. I just don't know if it would have worked. I just feel like Thanos' body would just be too strong, and it would just crush Ant-Man to death. So
Go between the molecules. Anyway, that's okay. So I have to ask this: what's your own grandmother like?
Well, Gam Gam's actually based a little bit off of both my grandmas. They're both very kind, and very helpful and stuff. So, yeah, I definitely took like the sweetest parts of both to create the perfect sweet Gam Gam.
But the Gam Gam of the story has to have a. She's got to be a little weird if she's a necromancer, right?
Yeah, there's a reason I won't go into too much because it does spoil a little bit of the story. But there is a driving reason and why she goes into necromancy.
Can't give us a hint?
No, I've read it. I could tell you, but no, you got to read it. It's short. You should read it. I read it in a weekend, Ro.
Okay.
Adam is the man. He understands short books are the way to go. You don't need door stoppers.
Speaking of not short books, Adam, I'm gonna take a minute and hijack your show because I want to call out to our boy E.L. Montague. I went to the post office and opened up a box today. Thank you very much for this, E.L. I really appreciate it. If you haven't read this, folks, go read it. Especially if you like werewolves and things. Okay, sorry. That was an unpaid commercial break, but he sent me a book, so I figure I can absolutely do that. And it's
I'm
worth it.
assuming he has to have been banned already because he has not complained yet about us not asking to show the book covers. So he must have been banned and just doesn't realize it. So if anyone guessed before 10 minutes, you were probably right. So can you show us those covers to keep EL, from hyperventilating?
Yep.
He's here.
So here's the two books. That this one's just came out last month, early last month. But book 1, book 2.
What's with the knitting?
It's just an old person thing. So I thought, what would this old person do for fun? And I'm like, knit and bake.
So did you learn to knit to do this?
No, but my wife knows how to knit, and she's my knitting expert. So anytime I need something knitted, I send her or write about something knitted. I send her this snippet, and I'm like, does this make sense at all? And usually she says no, and then kind of helps me through fixing it.
Have you thought about learning how to knit?
No. That kind of
scarf,
crafting,
right? I mean, you could make a scarf. That's easy enough.
that kind of crafting doesn't really interest me too much. I don't know. I don't have that interest, and I watched my wife go through learning knitting, and that does not sound like fun because it's very, very hard to fix things early in knitting. So if you mess it up, you have to start all the way over. Yeah, and so that did not look like that much fun. I'm more of a cross stitcher myself.
So, did your wife knit the skeleton behind you? The skeleton hit the skull head?
She did. I think this is crochet actually, but yes.
Okay. I don't know the
It's a
difference.
yarn thing. We don't know.
Yeah, she yarned this together.
Awesome.
It was for my birthday or Christmas. I don't remember which one.
I like the toque. And of course, Ed wants to know about the art on the walls. I told you that would happen.
Yep. So I have over here and at the far end is Knight's Radiant art from one of the Kickstarters for Brandon Sanderson. So each one is a different order of the Knight's Radiant. And at the center is the Cosmere maps. So all Cosmere art that's up right now. I need to add more to add some variety.
So if you released your first Gam Gam book last May, what were you doing before that?
Attempting to write good books and failing. So I wrote probably, the skeleton is knit. That is my wife.
Hi, Mrs. Holcombe. How are you?
I did try to write a couple of things before that. Nothing really stuck. And then I got into like a Discord that kind of helped keep me writing, and I was able to finish the first draft of my first story, which wasn't good, and I removed one of the characters like 2/3 of the way through because they still weren't doing anything, and I'm like, if they're not doing anything at this point, like you don't need to be here.
Did you
And
remove
kind of
them, or
revamped it. And
did they die a grisly death?
no, they just got like, I'm just like, this character doesn't exist anymore. Just
Oh, no,
after that point.
That's the perfect opportunity to kill a fool.
But I kind of like rewrote like how I wanted to do it and stuff. And then I trashed that entirely. So that one has not been worked on. And it's been mostly juggling between these two when I finally finished stuff. But yeah, even before that, I actually went to school for game design and development. So I was a part of like an indie game development team trying to make a game before that kind of fell apart. So, and then before that was college.
So what does Adam do for work now? I'm assuming you're not a full-time author yet.
No, I'm a programmer. So yeah, my day job is just programming.
Has it ever racketed around your noggin to try to make a Gam Gam game?
It has, but games seem like a lot of work at this point because I'm really bad at art and I don't have like game artist connections anymore. But I was thinking of doing a text adventure game. At one point that was for Bounty Inc., which is my other story that I'm working on right now, which is like a sci-fi bounty hunting story. So a text adventure where you hunt down a bounty.
A text adventure, like where it comes up and says you've died of dysentery kind of thing?
Yeah, that was definitely going to be one of the routes.
Can you call it the damn game?
What was that?
Can you call it the damn game?
Yeah. Perfect.
You cut out a bit there, Adam.
It's a perfect for game name.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you almost kind of have to do it now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you find an artist who would work with you on that.
One of my friends actually said he came up with the base idea for a board game that was Gam Gam related. I don't know if I'll get around to that one, but I do have a board game idea for Bounty Inc. too. So if I ever get rich and famous, there will be a lot of supplementary stuff, but I need to get that far.
What's the Bounty Inc.? That's a whole different thing.
Yep, that one's completely unrelated. That's actually the story I started writing after I trashed the previous one, and then I got distracted by Gam Gam partway through. So when I needed a break, I took a break to write out Gam Gam, and then kind of came back into Bounty Inc. And I think I'm at like 2 years of working on Bounty Inc. I'm in kind of the last pass before I go to edits, I think, maybe a little bit more so. But That one is a sci-fi story about a really wealthy kid whose father dies. So he's like 20 years old. His father dies, and he inherits this massive amount of wealth because his father was a wealthy businessman and shady businessman, and did like really good at making money. So he inherits all the wealth, but he doesn't want to do that. So he sells the company, takes the money, runs away, and he's like, "What's really cool is bounty hunting." And he just starts a bounty hunting company because he doesn't know how to bounty hunt. And is like, now I can bring someone in to teach me how to bounty hunt, and kind of brings in a bunch of other bounty hunters and creates the first galactic coalition of bounty hunters. And then
He started a guild.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, nice.
And they, kind of him building up his company and trying to get it to succeed. And it kind of is inspired. It's a lot more action and humor focused than Gam Gam was. Gam Gam has humor in it too, but I went more for like a One Piece style. If anyone's seen One Piece or read it, style humor where it's just absurdism. Kind of went that route a little bit more so, and then I usually comp it to One Piece and Guardians of the Galaxy. And Sarah has read it already. She told me that I outdid myself for that one, so
Nice.
hopefully that means it's really good.
And she gave you more than 2 stars.
She did. She gave me 3.
Awesome. Yeah.
She's going to end up having to knit something else for you now.
A pirate ship.
Part of your reveal, like this is the knit work, and then you reveal the cover, and then you do the pre-order.
That's right.
Exactly. I'm still waiting for my wishing stone knitting stuff though, unless it's just per series, I guess.
It'd be part of your Kickstarter.
Yeah. I actually just made the joke today that if I do a Gam Gam special edition collection, I was going to have Sarah hand knit all the covers.
Nice.
She did not seem to enjoy that idea.
That would be great. Knit covers. I mean, that would. I mean, obviously there wouldn't be that many of them, right? So that would be very cool.
Get up to 4 and then no more.
Oh.
So what do you find is the hardest part of writing a book? First draft? Is it editing? Is it every last blessed typo that never ever seems to work?
I gotta say for me, it's probably editing more so than writing, or than first draft. I can fly through first drafts because I really enjoy creating the story. And even second drafts I'm fine with because I kind of like flesh it out, re-up the story, kind of improve it. But then I hit a roadblock when all it is like read through and kind of improve the sentencing and stuff like that. So once the story's all set and it's just a matter of like smoothing things out, I kind of start really slowing down because I didn't have a very good method. But recently, my wife has been letting me use her Remarkable. And I found that to actually work really well in editing for me, where I'm able to read it through there, and you can just write right on it and make notes and stuff. And I've been kind of going through Bounty Ink that way, and it seems to be going a lot faster.
Now, Remarkables is kind of like an iPad, right? That you can use a stylus with, and
it's like the Kindle Paperwhites, where it's like it looks like a page of paper, and it almost feels like it when you write on it and stuff. So it kind of makes that immersive, but it's like a tablet. So
nice. So are you a plotter, or do you just kind of jump in and say, let's see where Gam Gam goes?
I always need some idea of where everything's going. So I do very loose plots, where it's like, these are the main events that are going to happen. It's easier for Gam Gam. I can't think super far ahead. So for like Gam Gam, it's shorter. So I'm like, okay, this is what needs to happen chapter by chapter. Just a super quick 1 to 2 sentences. But for like Bounty Inc., I think I'm like, this is what happens, this is what happens, and then it got broader, and then it was like big cool end fight. It's just for like the last like chunk. I'm like, I don't know, I'll get there later. So I need a good start point, but I'm okay with like a looser end point that I can flesh out as I go.
And what's your word count generally on these?
For Gam Gam, I aim between 30 and 40,000 words.
That's really
Bounty,
kind of perfect. I
yeah,
can get to 30 or 40,000 without too much drama.
yeah.
But
They're
once
really nice and easy compared to
yeah,
what Punishment was, which is at like 170,000.
what was 170,000?
Bounty Inc. is at about 170,000 compared to, yeah, they're completely opposites.
It's not going to be that big, is it?
Probably close.
Really? Have you thought of making it into 2?
I actually have one of the reasons it's bigger is that I think it's 3 interludes in it that are basically short stories that bump it by like 30,000 together. That follow other bounty hunters, so you get to know each of the bounty hunters better.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of one of the things that helped bump up that size.
Wow, 170 is a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. That's why it's been 2 years.
So it'll come. Why writing as opposed to golf or competitive baking or something?
I enjoyed one of the reasons I went into game design development is I really wanted to create stories, and this was something I wanted since middle school. I like knew that I wanted to become a game designer, and the reason I chose game design development is because that was the focus when I was younger. Is I played a lot of games and I loved them, and story games were like my favorite. So I wanted to create stories, and that was the medium that I knew best. So that was the direction I went. I was not a big fan of the industry as it is now. Like being threatened with layoffs every month sounds like a horrible way to live. Um, so I tried to get in a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, this makes like I couldn't. It's very hard to get into as well. So I settled back to a programming job because I enjoyed programming. So I would have gone in as a programmer side of things, and then tried the indie for a while, indie development for a while. That fell apart based on the person who owned the company and was running things. He ended up doing something or like backing kind of out of it. He's like, I need to do this other stuff. And so I shifted to writing mostly because my wife got me into a lot more writing. At the time, she was just my girlfriend, but she was really big into writing. So then, or reading, sorry, reading, and then I got into reading a lot more, and that kind of led me to, well, I can't make a game myself because I'm terrible at art, but I can write the story I want to write. And so that's when I started practicing with writing.
So, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I'm 31.
Oh, really? Okay. So you look fairly young. Maybe it's the blue hair. I don't know. But yeah, you said middle school, and I'm thinking to myself, well, gee, I can understand why you'd have such a good recollection of that because it couldn't have been more than 10 years ago. But
Are you saying if I do blue hair, I'll look younger too?
not even a little bit. No.
You have to find the hair first to, color it.
It's inconceivable, Mike. It's inconceivable. So did you try or consider trad at all on this writing journey, or did you just dive right into the indie pool?
I went right to indie. The idea of querying just sounded horrible to me, and I have a job that I can live off of. So I was treating this more as kind of a hobby. One of the things I also didn't want is to like sign a trad deal and then be like, okay, you need a book out in like a year, like you have this time limit. I'm like, that's way too stressful for me. So I'm like, I prefer to work at my own pace, which might not be good enough pace for readers, I guess. But what works for me, it's supposed to be my hobby. So
That's kind of funny as a programmer. You'd think that you'd be used to those kind of deadlines and people wanting stuff, yesterday.
when I get paid a living wage for it, sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
When I'm still
Yeah.
losing money, not as much
Well,
pressure for that one.
you go back to competitive baking or golf. Most hobbies are going to cost you money, and this one's no different.
Yeah.
It's just instead of the money being little at a time and greens fees, it's like, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars at a whack for covers,
Yeah.
editing, and voice actors and things like that. But God, it makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It does, and you get a little bit of money back, so it makes you feel
Yeah,
good to have
kind of like
that.
buying a lottery ticket. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I won $5. Yay.
Yeah, I spent 20.
Bet 100, got 5.
So have all your sales that all been e-sales, or do you do any stuff in person?
I've done one time I went to Indiana Comic Con,
Yeah.
which is relatively close to me. So we drove there and did a table, and that was a lot of fun. But I don't know if it was the right scene for Gam Gam because I didn't make the table what the table costs back.
Well, how many books did you have?
I think I had like 30 each, and
No, you had like two books.
Oh, that was just that was just the one book out at the time,
Yeah,
which was part
one
of it.
book.
It was an experiment too.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm excited to do it again with Bounty Inc. and Gam Gam. So it's like if you don't want like a cozy like fantasy adventure, I also have sci-fi action packed adventure. So I'll kind of grab 2 crowds rather than just the one.
I think, and Mike can chime in on this one. You really need to probably have about 3 different titles before you can reasonably go into one of those expecting to make table back, if not more.
That's fair.
I was always told you need 3 books, and one guy who was a complete jerk told me that you need 3 books, you have 1, you'll never sell enough. And so I worked my ass off and I sold more than he did that show. But then I was also like, I'm not talking to people for a month afterward because I had to extrovert way too long.
When I did it, my wife was also pretty pregnant, so we weren't hitting the table hard because it's like, well, you're exhausted, we can go back, it's fine. It was just mostly an experiment to see if it was something I wanted to do and enjoy. So
did you do that last year, the Indiana Comic-Con?
that was this year. It was in April, I think, or something like that. Earlier this year I did it.
Because I actually went to that last year, and then I did not go this year, but I'm trying to go back next year.
I think I did opposite. I didn't do last year, but went this year.
So one day we'll meet up there.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, so I'm hoping to go back to that one.
Okay, so I'm just itching to send Gam Gam to the Bald Dome. Have you seen this before, Adam?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I was yeah.
So I will roll a bunch of dice.
When we ask people that and they say that they've never seen it before, we should immediately kick them off the show.
I did feel a little bad about saying that. I was planning to watch the rest of I was watching Jackie's episode you guys did recently.
Yeah, no problem, man. That's all right, man.
And then I have a kid, so that got in the way.
So what we do is we want to know more about your characters, but we don't want you to give spoilers. So your main character gets transported away to a different place, which ChatGPT helped me create the scenarios. They get a fizzy potion. What is your favorite color? I'm going to go on a limb and say it's blue.
It is.
Okay, so they get a blue fizzy potion, but they don't know what it does. And then you get a choice between either a regular item or a weapon. If you choose a regular item, they will encounter a regular animal. If you choose a weapon, they will encounter a fantasy creature. And we used to make it like gladiatorial combat, but some characters just aren't, fighters. So now we'll give you the thing. You tell us a story. What does your character do?
I would say
we basically just want to see what she's like in action.
Yeah.
What your reader can expect out of Gam Gam in a certain situation.
Yeah. So I should definitely take the regular item.
Okay. So first of all, she is. Oh God.
What, knitting needles? Is it knitting needles?
You're doing Gam Gam, right? Not Mina?
Yeah. Gam Gam will do.
Oh, geez, I could not have rolled better for you. She is in a moonlit cemetery haunted by restless spirits. I wonder what's going to happen.
A necromancer in a cemetery.
I know. The dice, that's what they do.
Don't blame the dice.
She has a blue fizzy potion that she doesn't know what it does, but it's 100% effective. So if she drinks it or if she throws it, it'll work 100%, but she doesn't know what it does. She would take the common item. So she has a shovel. If she'd taken a weapon, she would have got a war club. So probably the better call. So now she is in this cemetery with restless spirits, and she comes across an ostrich. What happens next?
Does the ostrich seem violent? Like, is that a problem?
Generally, yes.
Okay. So I would say first off, she would want some assistance. I don't know if she needs the shovel. It depends on how deep the graves are, but she would utilize her magic to raise the dead. Perhaps since their spirits are restless, giving them a second chance at life, tying their souls to their bodies, so that they have more free reign in what they do. And she would ask for their help in calming the ostrich before it tries to attack anyone. So,
because nothing calms down an animal like a bunch of
dead bodies,
raised dead people, and
yeah,
it's very relaxing. It's like a bath.
They'd kind of like try to hold the ostrich down while it's freaking out, and then Gam Gam would feed it treats until it calmed down. She would have like cookies or scones. And if she could get it to calm down, what?
Who walks around with a scone?
She has tons of treats with her all the time.
Okay,
she has a big bag.
Sorry.
No treats.
You've never seen the show, so I don't expect you will understand this question. But Mike will get it. If she's carrying around a scone, she also has jam and cream, right? To go with the scone?
Ro used to live in England for a few years. So.
No, but this goes back to our conversations we've had with other people. What I need to know, what everybody needs to know, when she feeds the ostrich the scone, does she put the jam on top of the cream or the cream on top of the jam? This is very important.
Definitely.
I would say jam on top of cream would be what I would guess.
I think that's what that one guy said that was the proper way to do it. So I've had people say both ways are the proper way, so it doesn't really matter.
So Daniel from Cornwall, he said that if your cream is nice, you obviously put that on top. That's why Cornwall puts it on top and Devin puts it on the bottom.
Oh, that's those are fighting words.
So if you were from England, we would make sure we ask you this question just to, Oh, look at that. EL has been booted, so all is right in the world. We don't know why, but he gets booted all the time.
So, Mike, how does the ostrich react to being fed scones and stones and whatever else that he's feeding her?
Oh, Tim is trying to get some fighting going. So I have a question. So these bodies that are called forth, are they skeletons? Are they zombies? Are they spirits? What are they?
I guess it depends on how long it's been dead, and how much is rotted away. If it's a newer, fresher corpse, it's more of a zombie. If it's an older corpse, it would be an animated skeleton.
How
And then
how many can she pull up at once?
if they are so like I was saying, she would tie the spirits back to their body. That takes a lot more stamina. So her upper limit of that would probably be like 50 or so.
Holy
Um,
shit! Really?
yeah, she can create an army. But it's very exhausting.
I should hope it would be.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, that's a 50 is a fair number, right?
So Adam, can I just make one request when you're writing later in one of the other books? Because when you get old and you get tired, you notice your arthritis really starts flaring up and hurting a lot more. So you need to work that into the story after she raises all the dead that she can't knit because her arthritis is too bad. Trust me.
That's good to know.
Also, you pull out your back, taking a fork out of the freaking drawer and the dumbest damn things. Every
I
set of
definitely
stairs
have.
you look going down the stairs and you say, this could be the day. You finally understand why those little handles in showers are actually not a bad idea. Your whole life
There was
becomes. You have a baby? Do you have a baby?
yeah, just had one last month.
Congratulations. That's awesome that
Thank
you're
you.
still awake. And your wife, Sarah, well done you. Because you didn't do shit, Adam. I mean, let's face it.
No,
You were there for like the first couple minutes and then anyway. But you still have to say, we're having a baby. And your wife appreciates that, but inside her head she's going, yeah, you're not having jack. But
that wasn't just in her head.
oh, okay.
I was
Good
told
for her. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So you need to, like, not yet, but in 6 months you will need to start safety proofing everything in your house.
Yes.
Like all the corners and blah blah blah. Well, guess what? After like 50, you have to do the same thing. So there's that. And how old is Gam Gam?
I haven't given her an exact age, but she's definitely in her 60s.
You're our guest. I don't want to be rude, but I really just want to say fuck you. She's got to be older than that, man. You're talking. I mean, I know a grandmother can be in her 60s. I get that.
Yeah, she's not an old grandmother.
All right. Okay.
Grandkids aren't too old.
Okay. All right.
And she so her grandkids aren't too old. And I did need her on the lower end where she can, still be active because she runs around sometimes, not fast, but sometimes it's more of a waddle.
I was going to ask if she had any like impediments or, any walking items with tennis balls or anything like that. But she's only in her 60s. That's fine. She's still, able to drive and all that. So nobody's
yeah. I needed her to be able to drive because otherwise that just would be dangerous.
Yeah. Old folks can roll EL. They just, roll over and they go, oh.
So, Ro, since you have not read the book, I want to ask you a question, because Gam Gam, she drives a horse-drawn cart. How long do you think you could be on a horse-drawn cart with the jostling and the bouncing?
I'm not actually on the horse, right?
No.
Nope.
You're on the cart.
Oh, okay. The cart? Well, a damn sight longer than I could be on a horse.
Well,
Yeah.
For me, I'm just going to get on and then immediately fall off. So, it's kind of just fun.
If it's a decent carriage with good suspension and everything,
it's got a good padded cushion too.
A good what?
Padded cushion.
Yeah.
Because I drive to Comic-Cons and I'm like, nope, it's been 2 hours. I must get out of this car.
But your car's a POS, man.
The seat should be fine, but it isn't. Well,
I bet you could go in and rip those seats out of your car, just like lift down and yank them out of what's ever kind of rust is holding them together to the what used to be metal of your floorboards. That car is older than Adam.
Not quite, but
how old is it?
It's a 2008, so it is 16 years old.
2008.
So your car can drive.
I have a daughter upstairs who can drive. She's a 2006.
My other car is a 2004.
Jesus, dude.
And between them, I have over 500,000 miles on
Sell
them.
more books. Get yourself one good car.
That is the plan, actually, before the end of the year.
Okay. All right.
So,
Carriages.
so Adam, your second book, is that out on audiobook? I'm asking because I finished your first book like 2 weeks ago, and I need something else to listen to.
It is not. I did the audiobook for the first one, and I pretty much paid for everything up front. And that check was scary, so I'm hoping to get some audio sales generated. I'm at like 16, and I'm like, that's not justification for dropping a lot more money on book 2. So it's in limbo until I can find a way to advertise the audiobook more and get some sales through that.
Did you find a grandma to do your audiobook?
No, it was it was a woman who was probably closer to my age than Gam Gam's. But she did a good Gam Gam voice.
You should find like one of your grandmothers or something and just write them a little script and do like a Facebook or a TikTok video or a reel or something and advertise your book like that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, there it is. That's all it takes. Right? That's it. Sure. Easy enough.
Just
So to go off on a complete tangent and take another hard
Please.
left, what is the weirdest job and or task that you've ever been forced to do?
I worked at Chuck E. Cheese. So I was the
Were you the mouse?
Yes.
Were you?
So that's probably it. Yeah.
You were the giant
picture.
mouse.
Yeah, I have a picture somewhere of me without the head on, underneath it. My favorite story though is, so for birthday parties, you could like get like a special like long birthday party table, and then they did a dance for your group to celebrate your birthday. So Chuck E. Cheese would come out and do like a dance with the birthday hosts, is what they were called, and you would get trained on it to like just to know the dance basically. So trained. But for whoever was up at kid check, so whoever's up at the front letting all the kids leave with the parents they came in with and stuff, doing that check, they were usually the ones who had to do Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know if that's company secrets. Hopefully the mouse doesn't track me down. But so I was like up there just chilling, and someone comes over and is like, you have to get in the mouse outfit. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes you just get in, go around, throw tickets out to people or coins or whatever, kind of just say hi to people, and then you go back. So I start walking back and I see the countdown for the birthday like dance thing, and I turn back around and I'm like, am I supposed to do the dance? Because I was never taught how to do the dance. And her eyes got like super big, and she's like, just go in there, get dressed, and then when you come out, just wave your arms around, try to copy the others. So I'm up there as like Chucky, tried to dance, not knowing what the dance is supposed to be, just going like, yeah, whatever. That was the first time I ever had to do that. And then I learned how right after that.
Okay, I have more questions now. First of all, my son very helpfully just held up something to me. What is Chuck E. Cheese's real full name?
I think it's just Chuck E. Cheese. The E is entertainment, if you're curious.
Yeah, Charles Entertainment Cheese, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, were you allowed to talk in the costume, or were you like a Disney character where you couldn't say anything?
You can't say anything.
Okay.
Chucky, for the birthday parties, Chucky's voice will occur over the speakers. But if you're just going around, there's no voice, so you're just silent.
And 3, and this is the one I'm hoping. My fingers are crossed. What's the weirdest thing a kid, or more likely a parent, ever said to you while you were in the Chucky outfit that no one else could hear?
I don't know if I got a lot of things said. It's super hard to hear through that thing.
Oh,
So I don't know if I've gotten a lot of things said. Definitely not anything from parents. I've had plenty of kids run up and give me hugs, and I did get an adorable picture where the kid drew like Chuck E. Cheese and himself, and then attempted to write to Chuck E. Cheese, and it was completely misspelled. I might have said a bad C word. I don't remember for sure. But
you said?
no, when he attempted to write Chuck, the
Oh,
H and the U kind of might have turned to an O.
I thought you were kind of slapping him for not knowing how to
No.
spell. Okay.
No, so he like wrote down or whatever, and it was a very adorable picture that I ended up getting. So I mean, that was the coolest thing.
But you
Kind
didn't
of
like
not
meet
your
your wife
answer.
there or anything.
No, I did not meet Sarah until I got my job after college.
So, did Chuck E. Cheese go out of business?
I don't know if it's out of business completely, but the one I worked at does not exist anymore.
I was going to say, because would you want to ever go back and go to Chuck E. Cheese and be entertained by the poor schleps who have to dance in the mouse costume?
If I had a kid and it was open, I'd probably bring the kid there.
To answer Mike's question, Chuck E. Cheese is still in business, although it did file for bankruptcy in 2020. And it is phasing out its animatronic band by the end of this year. So Chuck E. Cheese is alive and well.
Yeah, I think COVID kind of killed,
Yeah.
a bunch of kids playing in very close quarters. So that's when the one in my near me, the one that I worked at, that's when that one went out of business. But I was like, I think the one like an hour away is still there.
So was the pizza any good? Because I don't think I've ever been to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Not really. It is low tier restaurant pizza. Like, yeah, about as low as you go. I still ate it because it was free, but
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Little Caesars sound great by comparison.
It was Little Caesars is probably better. They did change it, so it went from bad to like decent, like okay. At one point while I was there, but that was not their highlight. That's for sure.
Well, Chuck E. Cheese is not Raimi,
Yeah.
Or Remy from the Pixar film. Sorry, Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Yeah.
He's no Ratatouille.
So, Adam, I have another very important question that divides people, including Ro and I. And I will tell you there's only one correct answer, and Ro gets it wrong every time.
Yeah, but everybody agrees with me, so that's fine. Bring it on.
These are all wrong. So, which would be cooler, to saddle up and ride a T-Rex or a Griffin through the main thoroughfare of your town?
See, I like a T-Rex more than a Griffin as a creature, but the Griffin would let me fly. And I think that's what wins if I'm actually riding it.
Oh, sorry, you got it wrong.
You're like 0 for 4 on this, Mike.
No, I'm 4-0. It's everyone else who's wrong. Just like
That's right.
the other 8 billion people on the planet who are weird.
That's not true. All right, so, Adam, remind us once again, real quick. Show us your books. Tell people where they can get them, where they can find you. I will tell people that if you go to where to go. What's your website? I had it up and I closed it.
Yep. So my website is Bounty Inc. with a K, INK, because that's what my publishing. I thought it was very, very clever, Bounty Inc. Press, because my next book is Bounty Inc., but like incorporated. But yeah, bountyinc.com will be my website, or is my website. All links are on there, but they're on Amazon. You can find them, or Barnes & Noble. I went through Ingram, so they should be at any of your local indie stores you have to order from, or you could order from. You'll yeah, you'll have an easier time finding a necromancer called Gam Gam, because that is more uniquely named. But
And
that'll kind
you
of help
know,
you find the other one too.
I kind of did you a disservice a little bit at the beginning reading that 2-star review, but it just annoyed me. But I will say on Goodreads you have 211 ratings, and only 7 of them are 2 stars. No 1 stars. The rest, the majority are all 5 and 4. So
Yeah, I actually complained a while ago about having no 1 stars, and I still don't have it. I thought for sure by
Oh, you'll get it.
complaining about not having 1 stars, I would get one.
You'll get one.
But you know, just someday I'd like to get in on the marketing where they're like, "This is a 1 star," where someone hated my book so much they ranted about it, and being able to like use that as marketing. But
Yeah, it'll be something where someone reads maybe the whole first chapter of your book and doesn't like the way something happens, and then just decides, well, then, you know,
yeah, I'm waiting for that day.
not bitter.
No, never bitter, bro.
I mean, theoretically, that's what will happen. All right. You want to show the covers one more time, or did you already
Yes,
do that
I
when
can.
I was on another? When I was on
I
another
can
track?
But when
show
is
them as well.
coming out?
What was that?
Bounty out.
Bounty Inc. I'm hoping will be Q2 or 3 of next year. I will depend. I don't have an editor planned out yet, so it'll depend on when I get my editing scheduled in, and then
I
I
know
will
a
be
guy.
able to figure it out.
So you heard it here first. July 4th, the book will come out, come hell or high water. No excuses. And the whole newborn is not in any way going to interfere with his plan.
That is another reason why I did not set a date. Like a brand new newborn, I have no idea when things are going to be normalized, if at all ever.
20 years from now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it might take a couple
I
decades.
mean, at least the next 9, you can write those off. All right. But, by the time they get to be about 12, they'll just, be in their room, not talking to you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I can do my writing then.
Right. You'll have time then, but
I'm attempting to draft Gam Gam 3 on my phone while I'm holding a baby.
oh god.
So we'll see how that goes. That's how I outlined it, but outlining took me like an hour maybe. The actual drafting will be a lot longer. We'll see how it goes. It's an experiment, but then it lets me continue forward with it.
Yeah. Well, more power to you if you can do that on your phone.
So when do you start reading your books to your child to put them to to sleep? Before the words, obviously.
Yeah, she goes to sleep kind of fast, so I just I'll do the baby books for now, but I did actually have someone say like, you could just read your book. I'm like, I'll probably wait until she understands what's happening before I read that book to her.
We're going to ask the chat folks here, give us your recommendation for baby books that Adam can read to his child. I will start off with The Kiss That Missed. It is a great little book. I forget who wrote it, but it's a wonderful story. And The Gruffalo is also a lot of fun. But
hopefully Sarah was listening and can write those down.
Sorry, I've never had kids, so I cannot help.
You're an uncle, man. Get on it.
My nephew told me that I couldn't read stories well.
Yeah, what's he know? He's a kid.
Well, now he's in his 20s, so yeah, he's still a kid, but details.
Okay.
He also decided to be a lawyer, so his choosing is not the best.
All right, Adam, thank you very much for joining us. I'm glad we actually did get to talk about your book at some point.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let us know ahead of time when Bounty's coming out, and
I will.
and tag us on the Twitter machine, and look forward to seeing the cover and all that.
Yep, I'm
And,
looking forward to that one. I do have the first plans of a cover. One of my cover artists worked on. I'm very excited for that.
Are you going to be entering Sphinx again, or have you just washed your hands of that?
I had a plan to do so. I'm not entering book 2 of Gam Gam because it's too much. Like, it is a full sequel, so sequels aren't allowed. It needs to be a book 1. So I don't think any of my Gam Gam books will be able to enter. They kind of tie into the previous book enough that I don't think it would fit. I did have plans for another novella, but that one's kind of in limbo, and it might end up being a novel. So then that wouldn't be able to enter. But then that one would go into Spiffbo, hopefully. And then Bounty Inc. I'm hoping to enter into SBSFC.
Yep. Well, good luck to you. I'm in Spacebo this year, and it's been radio silent so far. So I'm sure, just like for Spiffbo, for me, the first time I hear anything will be, and your book is cut.
For right now, no news is good news. You're still in it. So
yeah.
Until,
Best of luck with it.
if it goes past March, I'll be like, okay, they just forgot about me.
It's happened.
So,
all right. Well, thank you, and thanks everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you, Sarah, for coming out and supporting the old man while he's working. And let's just wave like fools.
Okay.